It was cold and dark in that street of the beach metropolis. At around 2 a.m. in the night, a black sedan drove into the corner of the street near the big garbage can. A woman in loose-fitting clothes emerged from the back seat, holding a small bundle in her lap. She put the bundle near the garbage can on the road, hurriedly looked left and right to ensure no one was watching, and then took a fleeting glance at the bundle. It lay still. She turned back, and the sedan drove away into the darkness. Her tiny, one-day-old body felt extremely cold, and she was hungry too. Her underdeveloped brain did not understand emotions, but still, she failed to comprehend why she was not in a warm place where she used to hear her mother's heartbeat. She felt detached, alone, cold and hungry all at the same time. She started crying. From far away, 2 stray dogs heard a faint wailing sound coming from a small bundle lying beside the garbage can on the road. They came running in search of food. The dog tried to bite the bundle, which made the crying louder. The bitch stepped forward. She saw the baby inside the bundle. Her maternal instinct kicked in, or maybe the baby was meant to survive. She fought with the hungry dog and protected the baby from him. The incessant barking from the street woke up the security guard of the apartment building. He came running with a flashlight in his hands. To his horror, he saw a tiny newborn baby lying there, bleeding from the arms and legs where the dog had bitten her. Her lips had gone purple from crying, and she was about to collapse when the ambulance and police arrived. The baby was put in a warm blanket and transported to the NICU. She was gasping for breath. Helen collapsed on the bed as soon as she reached back to the motel room. All her troubles were over now. As a star figure, she was tired of hiding away from the paparazzi to conceal her pregnancy. Tomorrow she will fly back to her own country after spending many months here, leaving the threat to her modeling career back here. Not for a second did she think about the damage she did to an innocent soul. For her, the most important thing was to get back to her career as soon as possible. Dr. Kate was on duty in the NICU for the whole day today, as she had taken a day off yesterday to heal from the failed IVF attempt that she underwent. It has been almost a decade now. The ambulance siren rang, and a neonate was rushed in critical condition. No parent was accompanying her. Kate sprang up to her feet and saw an absolute angel turn purple, gasping for breath. The baby was immediately put on life support and resuscitated. She was unable to maintain her body temperature. Kate moved forward and for a while held the tiny injured soul close to her. Nobody resisted. Everyone knew what an ordeal the tiny baby had to face. The baby responded. She could feel the warmth of love, and she could hear a heartbeat as well. She calmed down, and her breath became normal. She was fed in Kate's lap and lay sleeping there. The brief body contact stirred up an ocean of maternal emotions inside Kate's heart. She was already so bruised from having failed attempts at IVF repeatedly. She wanted a baby to call her own, and here she was, holding a tiny, innocent soul who had been abandoned. She felt a connection. The baby developed pneumonia after a few hours, and it was a hard time caring for her during the next 2 weeks. Kate stayed at the hospital most of the days, and only took a few hour breaks to rest. It was as if she had presumed the responsibility of the baby girl's care. Her husband also visited the hospital to see what got his wife possessed, and realized he too fell in love with the beautiful angel almost immediately. Meanwhile, the police investigation could find no clue of the baby's biological parents. The Child Protection Services took the baby's custody. Kate and her husband had decided that they were going to file for the baby's adoption. Paperwork and interviews went in their favor, and finally, after 1.5 months, they were successful in bringing baby Emma home. Dr. Kate took a leave from the hospital to care for Emma. She decorated their study room as Emma's nursery, and most parts of her day were spent taking care of her. When her husband returned from work, they would all go for a walk down the street as a family. Just as Kate's loving touch had healed Emma, Emma had completed Kate's world. Both filled a void in each other's lives. Helen took a few months to get back into shape and fully concentrated on her career in modeling. But the year-long hiatus from her career cost her dearly. She only got small, low-paying gigs because the industry had moved on to hire fresh faces and new talent. She kept trying to contact old friends and acquaintances in the industry to get roles. This move paid off, and for a while, her career seemed to have returned, and she felt great. The inner voice which reminded her of that innocent face she had brutally left to die was easy to silence, for now. She was obsessed with her career and beauty. Life moved on. Emma was growing up into an intelligent and beautiful girl. She was 3 years old and the center of attention of the whole family. The love and attachment provided by Kate and her husband as mother and father to Emma had removed all the vulnerability and hurt from her personality. Emma was not only physically fit, but also mentally very sharp. As soon as she was admitted to school, all the teachers commended her extraordinary intelligence and IQ level. She was also remarkably social and friendly, so everyone loved her. Emma was just 4 years old when Dr. Kate found out that she had unknowingly conceived naturally. The news was more of a shock than a surprise to the couple, who had tried every possible treatment for 10 years before giving up. Then Emma came and colored their dull life with love and laughter. Never again had they thought about trying fertility treatment, but this was unbelievable, almost surreal. At her ultrasound appointment, her old friend, Dr. Samantha, who was even more excited than Kate herself, said, "It seems unbelievable, yet here we are. A perfect heartbeat, and you are almost at 17 weeks. And look, it's a boy. God saw how tenderly you loved Emma and made her your own. He decided to complete your family." Well, that was a lot to take in. Kate was in disbelief, and so was her husband. It took them a while to register what was happening. As soon as they reached home and saw Emma smiling in her grandma's lap, they instantly knew. This angel brightened their life for good. God was rewarding them for accepting and loving Emma as their own. Kate's pregnancy went by pretty pleasantly. Her mother had come over to stay and help out with Emma. Emma was so excited to have a baby brother that she couldn't wait. Every day she would paint a new card for her brother or buy some toys to decorate the nursery. Finally, the day arrived 6 months later. The whole family was gathered around Kate and the newborn Jamie. They simply couldn't take their eyes off this new bundle of joy. Emma was so possessive of her baby brother that she wouldn't let anyone touch him. When everyone left and Kate was left alone to rest, she looked out of the window into the sky. Now that she had experienced the whole process of childbirth herself, she once again wondered, what sort of a woman can leave her newborn baby, a piece of herself, in the street to die? How awful was that? Was she even a part of it, or was her baby snatched from her? These questions made her uncomfortable, but she consoled herself with the thought that no one had ever claimed Emma as their own. Her beautiful angel was hers alone. She loved her even more now, as she believed Emma was the reason God blessed them with another of his blessings. Emma developed an amazing bond with her newborn brother. She took care of him as if she was an adult. A little cry from Jamie, and Emma would rush to his cot or call out to Kate or her dad. Kate now took up a part-time private practice to focus on her family even more. Her children became her whole world. She was a good mother to both of them. Helen was pretty much free most of the time now. Apart from an occasional client or fashion show, she would be free most of the time. She had no boyfriend or companion. The inner voice in her brain becoming stronger and stronger. It began questioning her as to why she had decided to do what she did. Did the baby die, or did someone save her? She shunned the voices and thought, Perhaps loneliness in her life was driving her crazy. Emma left high school as a topper in her class. She joined medical school, following in the footsteps of her mother. To her mother was a perfect woman. The unconditional love and all-out support provided by her mother made her so successful in her studies. It continued in med school as well, and Emma passed out with flying colors. She was now Dr. Emma. Helen noticed a small pea-like thing in her left breast while taking a shower. She thought it might be a fat lump and ignored it. In almost a month, she lost 8 kilograms of weight, even though she hadn't exercised much and her depression had made her eat more. She got scared. She went to the hospital and got her workup done. The reports came out positive for breast carcinoma, which was almost at the second stage, but doctors thought it could be cured with aggressive treatment. This was a bolt from the blue for Helen. Having a bilateral mastectomy, as advised by the doctor, would not only end her career, but her life too. How would she even look at herself in the mirror? The body she was so proud of is going to become so flawed. There was no one she could share her agony with. Waiting in the hospital lounge, her mind was flooded with so many thoughts. One of these thoughts was that if she had kept her daughter with her, she would at least have someone to share her grief with. The surgeon's assistant came up to her and called her in. She was briefed about the absolute necessity of this surgery and the chemo sessions that would follow. Reluctantly, she agreed. The surgery went well, and Helen was shifted to the recovery room. She became quiet and withdrawn. She was almost always lost in deep thoughts. The psychiatrist was called for consultation, but she refused to talk to him. The cosmetic surgeon's visit was also in vain, as Helen would simply not talk to anyone. Today, she was to be discharged from the hospital. She went straight back home, packed up her bags and passport, and headed toward the airport. She was going to find out once and for all what had happened after she left the bundle beside the garbage can that night. The city has changed a lot in the past 25 years. There was a big departmental store in place of the motel. The streets had been bifurcated further, so it was not possible to figure out which one was it. Helen would go there every day, trying frantically to locate the street. After about a week, she almost figured out the street, but didn't know how to investigate. If she goes down to the police station and tells them her story, she would probably get arrested for what she did back then. She stayed on and visited all nearby hospitals to get any information. A whole month passed, and she ignored all the calls from her doctor for follow-up. Another month passed, and she started becoming sick again. One day she fainted and was taken to the nearby hospital. Her workup showed signs of metastasis to her brain. She was admitted to the oncology department for deciding on treatment options. The next day, all new residents were allotted cases to study for presentation to the head of oncology. Dr. Emma's patient file seemed incomplete. To prepare the case, she needed more details, so she requested a meeting with her patient, 50-year-old Miss Helen. Helen was staring outside the window when Emma knocked at the door. She turned her head to refuse consultation, but froze as soon as she saw Emma. The blue eyes and golden locks looked so familiar. For an instant, she thought her search was over. But how was it possible? What proof did she have? Emma asked her permission to ask a few questions, and she allowed. While talking to her, she continuously thought about how confident and wise the young girl looked. Why did she seem so familiar? The head of the department decided the treatment options for all patients. A cycle of chemotherapy was decided for Helen. However, the staff reported that Helen would simply not talk to any of the residents or doctors except Dr. Emma, with whom she talked pretty easily. So Emma was given the task to communicate with Helen and get her consent for chemotherapy. Helen was nibbling on a slice of apple when Emma entered her room. It seemed as if Emma's presence lit something up inside her. "Who is this girl?" thought Helen. "Her presence is so warm. I feel so connected to her. If only I could ask her. But what would I ask? When Emma briefed her about the treatment options, she outrightly refused treatment. When Emma asked the reason, Helen narrated her whole story to her and told her that she had come here to look for news of her daughter. Since she couldn't get a clue about it, she was returning to her country and would get the required treatment there. As Emma got up and turned to leave, Helen stopped her. She asked if she can hug her goodbye. Emma found it strange, but her compassionate nature didn't let her refuse. She hugged Helen. Helen found all her answers in that hug. She held Emma for over a minute and finally let go. She let go again.